in which the president made an emphatic pledge to address the country's energy problems once and for all.
And we're compelled to take raw kinky home to cook ourselves because we're afraid we would lose out if we allowed the kinky seller to cook it. We've gone through many challenges as a nation, but our defining spirit as Ghanaians is that we have picked ourselves up each time we have fallen, and we have continued to walk on.
Well, President Mahamas also spoke about his economic restructuring drive, which he says will consolidate gains made in cutting down imports and providing supports to local industry.
As leader of this nation, by the grace of God, I, more than anyone else, understand the adverse impact of this energy shortfall on the growth of our economy. We have been here before. I do not intend to manage the situation as has been done in the past. I intend to fix it.
President Mahamas also talks about corruption, sanitation, social protection and sports. We'll bring you all the reactions to the address. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has directed the Electoral Commission to stop airing advertisements on the upcoming District Assembly elections as it sets Friday, February 27 to rule on a case which will determine whether the elections will come off as scheduled or not. An IMF delegation concludes Ghana visit, having tentatively agreed a 3-year program which will give Ghana almost $1 billion. Those are the headlines. We'll bring you some more. Please stay with us. Well, now let's take a look at the details now. The Supreme Court has ordered the Electoral Commission to stop running adverts on the upcoming district-level elections and set Friday, February 27 to rule on the case challenging the constitutionality of the March 3 polls. A disqualified aspirant, Benjamin A. Mensah, has dragged the commission to court for failing to include him in the elections. My colleague Kwache Afrenyama was in court and joins us in the studio with more. First, give us an idea of what happened in court today. Yesterday, the EC's lawyer had a tough time convincing the jury to. What were his advancements in court?
Well, you know, yesterday, lawyer for the Electoral Commission, Mr. Kwashi Aidan, had quoted CI 75, which talks about the conduct of presidential and parliamentary elections. He also quoted CI 68, which talks about unit committee elections. And the judges said that, look, the matter before the court is about district assembly elections, and so you cannot quote these legal provisions to back your argument. So in court today, Mr. Kwasi abandoned those legal provisions and rather quoted PNDC Law 284, Section 11 of that provision. And he said that in his view, the Electoral Commission did nothing wrong while opening and closing nomination for the district level election, because without waiting for the CI 85 to be passed, because that particular law allows them to do so. As you may already know, CI 85 is what the plaintiffs are in court asking the court that this particular law had not matured before Parliament, had not matured in Parliament before the EC closed nominations. But rather interestingly, Gifty, the legal representative of the states, because the state has been jointly sued with the Electoral Commission, came to court today and quoted the same CI 75 that the judges had yesterday mentioned that the Electoral Commission cannot use to back their argument. So the judges questioned the level of collaboration between these two, the two camps, lawyers for the EC and lawyers from the Attorney General's Department. Right. And he explains that all the efforts fell on deaf ears. And he made a point that the matter he has brought before the court, Parliament backs him. The entire Parliament, both majority and minority, backs him on that. But the judges did not take too kindly to this. They in their view, they thought that he was trying to prejudice them because this is a separate arm of government.
Exactly.
You are trying to create the impression that, well,
even,
the entire
even probably
Parliament,
a higher or a level, an institution that's actual level.
Yeah, or another arm of government backs him. So they were not too happy with that. So he had to withdraw that statement and apologize.
Right. Let's talk about these adverts have been running. It's cost a lot of money. Now, let's talk about that directive for the EC to stop running the adverts.
One of the judges mentioned, and this was at a time that the lawyer for the Electoral Commission was making a submission in his defense. One of the judges mentioned that yesterday he had heard and listened to some of the adverts on TV and radio, and he thinks, in the view of the court, this is inappropriate because the matter is before the court. The court is yet to decide whether or not the process is null and void, whether the process is constitutional or otherwise. And so it is inappropriate for these adverts to still be running on various media platforms while the matter has not been decided by the court. So the Supreme Court has directed that henceforth all those advertisements cease. The Electoral Commissioner himself, Dr. Kojo Afarajan, was in court. So after court proceedings, I spoke to some EC officials, and they have agreed to cease playing and advertising the district level elections on various media platforms.
What do we expect tomorrow then? 27th, right?
Yeah, tomorrow. That's exactly. Tomorrow. Well, it's difficult to tell, but looking at how it's about unfolded in court the past 2 days, it's really been difficult for lawyers for the Electoral Commission to convince the judges, because all the arguments that yesterday and today they've put forward, the judges have not been convinced, obviously looking at their posture and the sort of arguments that they countered it with. Yeah. It's easy to believe at this stage that it may not go in favor of the Electoral Commission, but this is a matter of law, this is a matter of the
and this is definitely your opinion.
Yeah,
about
certainly.
The trend.
So
exactly.
it's at this stage it's difficult to say to see how it goes. But let's see. Tomorrow is just some few hours from now.
Right. Thank you very much. Kwachi Afrenyama has been in court telling us about a new directive that has come for the Electoral Commission to stop running adverts on the district level election. We'll see how that goes tomorrow. But for now, let's focus on the State of the Nation address. Now, President John Mahama has made an emphatic pledge to fix the power crisis currently facing the country. Among the measures, he says there will be an overhaul of the power distributors into a customer-responsive and efficient organization. The pledge made in the 2015 State of the Nation address comes on the back of criticism that he's failed to deliver on his promises to tackle the crisis. The president also stated the country will tap a lot more thermal, solar and biogas sources for electricity.
In November last year, I carved out a new Ministry of Power from the former Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. This was meant to give a sharper focus and effort to the resolution of the present energy shortfall. As an immediate measure to resolve the current crisis, I have authorized this new Ministry of Power to procure and feed into the system 1,000 megawatts of emergency power. As I speak, guarantees are being finalized for the following emergency power plants: the car power ship from Turkey, which will supply us with 450 megawatts, the APR power plant sponsored by companies in Dubai that will feed us with 250 megawatts, and the General Electric emergency plant that will supply us with 300 megawatts. The Ministry of Power estimates that this emergency power can be rolled out in months to bring relief to the system, while the more permanent plants that I mentioned previously are being worked on. I will hold the Minister to his publicly stated commitments to resolve the electricity supply deficit by the end of this year. We have been here before. In 1983, in 1998, in 2006 and 2007, we suffered a similar occurrence. In the past, what we have done has been to manage ourselves out of the situation. I do not intend to manage the situation as has been done in the past. I intend to fix it. I owe it to the Ghanaian people. I, John Dramani Mahama, will fix this energy challenge.
Well, that was what happened in Parliament. Now, reacting to the address, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, says though he saw hope in the president, he is not being realistic with measures government intends to put in place to fix the crisis. He spoke to my colleague Aisha Ibrahim.
Listening to my president, I saw a president who is in a very serious challenge, but who still wants to communicate hope to the people, to the citizens. And that is what the president should do, to continue to inspire his people. Except that when you communicate that hope over and over without fulfilling what you communicate to them, people lose that confidence. What I think he hasn't done is to be realistic about how he can resolve it. And so I didn't see the president communicate realistically how he will address the short-term measures, except a repetition of what we have heard over and over. What I wanted to hear from the president were the details in terms of the arrangement we have made with Car Power, the arrangement in terms of the 250 megawatt we are bringing from Dubai, because there's no transparency, around these deals. And my own investigation shows that it could cost us more. Also the president said that he wants to add about 3,000 megawatt over the next 5 years. And I'm just wondering if he can do that, why will he go negotiating a power badge, which is an emergency badge for 10 years. And so this is an emergency badge we are negotiating for 10 years. The contract has a take or pay clause, in the contract, which means that even when we don't need the power, we still have to pay because we have signed on to that. And so you increase the generation capacity by 3,000, then you have a power badge which is stranded, and yet you continue to spend money on that. That is not value for money. And this is why I keep saying that the emergency situation we have today does not need an emergency power badge which will be here for 10 years. We need it for 6 to 8 months so that we can manage the current crisis while we continue developing our medium to long-term projects to be able to fix it once and for all.
Dr. Amin, however, commended President Mahamas' initiative on renewable energy to help supplement electricity supply.
In spite of all these challenges, I was very happy. The president talked about harnessing the potential of renewable power in Ghana, and that is very progressive. You know that we already have the Renewable Energy Act, which provides some incentives, in order to attract investment into the renewable power sector. And I was very happy the president talked about setting up the Renewable Energy Fund. It's been outstanding since the law was passed. And so if, the president is ready to operationalize the fund by ensuring that we now have money in the fund that will support the development of renewable technology, that will help subsidize, renewable technology like solar panels, so that rooftop systems can be encouraged in Ghana. We can be able to use solar to manage, our power consumption, so that we can take some pressure off the national grid, which is overpressurized, as you know. And so to that extent, I think that the president was forward-looking, and I'd like to commend him on that. But until we do that, we cannot continue to rely on light crude oil or gas. We should be able to rely on other sources, such as renewable, that will complement the national grid.
Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam.
This is intended to make us self-reliant and put us in a position in our country as an export-led economy, which will create decent jobs. Mr. Speaker, the initiatives that I introduced last year have already started bearing fruit. In the area of rice cultivation, for example, local production increased by 60%. According to the latest statistics from the Bank of Ghana, our rice import bill fell by a whopping 41%. The Ghana Exim Bank will act as an intermediary between government and exporters and assist our exporters to compete internationally by providing insurance and finance facilities to support their overseas contracts. We have launched the 20 million broiler project with a target to reduce the importation of poultry by 40% by the end of next year and save this economy about $150 million. The recent macroeconomic challenges we face, investor confidence in Ghana has continued to grow as a result of measures introduced to stabilize the economy. Last year, inflows from foreign direct investments stood at $3.57 billion from 184 projects. The oversubscription of the 2014 US dollar 1 billion euro bond, as well as the 1.7 billion syndicated loan for cocoa purchases, is a further testimony of investor confidence in our economy. Our subsequent market activities will target the development of infrastructure and the refinancing of the 2007 euro bond.
Let's stay with the president a while longer, because on the sticky subject of corruption, the president cautioned state institutions to sit up whilst calling on Parliament to review the legal and institutional framework, adding investigations into alleged corruption, including SADA, JIDA, the Brazil World Cup fiasco, and work of the Judgment Debt Commission are all receiving attention.
Again, urge all the graft institutions to promptly investigate allegations and take swift action to protect the public purse and public resources. As president, I will continue to lend every support to them, to these important institutions, to ensure that we win total victory in the war against malfeasance. As we play our part, I urge other arms of government to support me to make corruption a high-risk activity. Mr. Speaker, let us make our institutions work, and let us work together to create the framework to deal with this menace swiftly, impartially, and fairly. While we expose and fight corruption, we should also tighten systems to ensure that existing loopholes are sealed to avoid a recurrence. One major way to achieve this is with the use of information technology. There's been a strong resistance in many instances in our rollout of technology in the MDAs because many prefer the laxness of the manual system. We will invest and speed up technology uptake in all facets of our national life. Prosecution of officials involved in the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Authority is ongoing, and monies are being retrieved from service providers. A new youth employment agency to replace JIDA has just been approved by Parliament. All the checks and controls for proper accountability must be used to ensure that the youth of Ghana fully benefit from this all-important project. Major steps have also been taken to bring SADA back on course. The Judgment Debt Commission and the Brazil 2014 Commission of Inquiry have concluded their work, and the reports are due soon. Upon receipt of the reports, government will study them and take the necessary and appropriate actions. A number of bills laid before this House in 2014, the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, the Whistleblowers Amendment Bill, and the Right to Information Bill, when enacted into law, will significantly deal with the identified gaps in our fight against corruption. And I look forward to these bills being passed into law by this August House as soon as possible.
Well, on education, one of the most politically debated subjects, President Mahamas highlighted the BECE resit